Tujikaze, tujikaze, jikaze. Tujikaze, tujikaze, jikaze. Africa, tujikaze, tujikaze, jikaze. America, tujikaze, tujikaze, jikaze.
You are listening to African Father in America podcast by Simon Javanokelo, live from Seattle, Washington, USA.
Thank you so much for joining me for another incredible episode of the African Father in America podcast. This is episode number 274. Episode number 274. And today is a really lucky day for me and a lucky day for my team here in the African Father in America podcast, because we are hosting an amazing guest. We are hosting Latanja Milhouse, who is the founder of, Sweet Tea Inspirations. Latanja is someone who has supported the work that we do here with the daily African Proverbs, and also, really with this growth of African Proverbs, so it means a lot that you're here, Latanja. And I just want you to take a moment and say hello before we continue with our conversations.
Well, grand rising and good day. How are you, Mr. Simon?
I'm doing great. I just feel lucky that you're here today. You're one of the people that whenever I see your content online, whenever I hear your voice, I feel inspired, and, I hope that our audience members are also going to appreciate our conversation today, but also they are going to appreciate our own, perspectives on the proverb that we are going to share today, as well as your story. One of the things that I love sharing with our audience members is inspiring stories from our community members like you. And so today is no exception. And I can't wait. I see that we already have Rick and Karima and Brother Rushi and Brother Arth and Ned and Sarah, who have already joined us on Clubhouse. And feel free to join us on YouTube as well. The link is at the top of the room. And today we are going to discuss an amazing proverb from Congo. The Democratic Republic of Congo is where our proverb is taking us today. And I just want you to know that it's Friday, and we are going to end this week in a very strong and powerful way. Latanja, you agree with that? I see you smiling.
Yes, it's Friday, and I agree. Let's just end the week, as they say, and make something glorious happen from it.
I agree completely. So, I would love for you all who are listening on Clubhouse to take a minute and ping your friends and family who should be here with us for this conversation, and also share the link to this room over there on Clubhouse and also outside on Twitter. I would love to see your tweets, and share it on Facebook and on Instagram as your stories, and tag me. And also, if you are on YouTube, thank you so much for tuning in. Remember to subscribe to the channel and also leave us with your comments so that we know where in the world you're joining us from and what today's proverb means to you. So, when we look at the proverb for today, I think it's really amazing. I think it's a cautionary proverb. It tells us that don't buy a boat that is underwater. Don't buy a boat that is underwater. I want to share with you the 3 nuggets of wisdom for today's proverb. And then we are going to dive deep into our conversation with our special guest today, who is first going to share with us her own interpretation. And then we are going to learn about, a childhood story that inspires Latanja, that keeps her going despite the challenges that we all face today. And then we will talk about the work that Latanja is doing, her biggest accomplishments as an entrepreneur, as a mother, but especially with Sweet Tea's inspiration. She creates videos and a lot of inspiring messaging online, and we want to learn more about what is it that drives this and what are some of the exciting things about Latanja's work. But here are the 3 nuggets of wisdom for today. Number 1, and these are inspired by today's proverb, which says, don't buy a boat that is under water. And this proverb is from the Democratic Republic of Congo. This is a proverb that is literally from the center of the motherland, right from the center of Africa. So here are the 3 nuggets. Number 1, don't invest in something that is not doing well. If the company or product is struggling, it's probably not worth your money. Number 2, make sure you know what you are getting into. Research the company and the product before buying anything. And then number 3, sometimes it's best to wait until things improve before investing. Don't jump in head first. Make sure the investment is worth it first. And it's really a warning. It's really a warning that you should look before you leap. You should understand, whatever you want to invest in, whether it's a relationship, whether it's actually an actual investment, and if it's a boat that you want to invest in, make sure it's actually not sinking already. Make sure you test it in water, and that it's not leaking and going to suck in so much water that you lose it even before you buy it. So it's just a cautionary proverb. But I want to go ahead and invite my wonderful special guest here, Latanja, to share with us her own perspective. Latanja, when you received this proverb, in the preparation for today's conversation, what is it that came to your mind, as your own interpretation about it?
One of the things that I looked into, as it is, don't buy a boat that is underwater, I thought about the Black Star Line, which was a steamship corporation during 1919 and 1922, and was a shipping line incorporated by Marcus Garvey, the organizer of the Universal Negro Improvement Association, UNI. He is and was a Pan-Africanist. What he wanted to do, ideally, is to encourage Black self-determination and economic independence. Now, the BSL would also transport immigrants to Africa from establishment of a Black nation state. He did purchase the first ship, which was called the Yarmouth. It was a 31-year-old vessel that was used in World War I as a freighter. And by the time that the Black shipping line took possession of this vessel in New York City, New York, it was beset by a number of unfixed repairs and attempted sabotage by the crew members. The second ship was called the Shady Side and was used as a ferry passenger up and down the Hudson River. But eventually it sank after a seam broke in an ice storm. The other ship was called the Kanawha and was plagued by numerous mechanical issues and staff misconduct. And so the Black shipping line ships were sometimes used to transport people and make largely symbolic port cities in Latin America in celebration of Black self-determination, business ownership, and economic potential. The ship visited various ports in Panama, Jamaica, Costa Rica, Cuba, and other countries. No Black ship line vessel ever reached Africa. It symbolized a powerful recruiting tool for the UNIA, which is a Universal Negro Improvement Association. However, because of the mismanagement of the line by Garvey's associates, who had no background or training in steamship company management, there was the FBI led by J. Edgar Hoover. He sent a Black agent to infiltrate the UNIA to find evidence to undermine the Garvey's movement. So in 1922, Garvey was arrested on mail fraud charges for selling stock in a ship that had not been purchased for the Black shipping line. He was convicted in 1923, after appeals imprisoned in 1925. He was then pardoned by President Calvin Coolidge and deported to his home country in Jamaica in 1927, according to blackpast.org. So, what I take from that as we look at the proverb, don't buy a boat that is underwater, I would say trust in the flow of the river that operates in a constant, consistent, and consecutive rhythm. The movement propels one to greatness when the vision is made clear. Don't buy a boat that is underwater reminds us about the tenacity of Marcus Garvey. With true grit, togetherness, and tunnel vision, we can sail to new heights. Be cautious about being undertacked, underseas, and misunderstood, and have a recovery plan in the case of a battle and a universal cause to fight.
Wow, thank you. I love you, for picking this story of Marcus Garvey and using it in response to today's proverb. I think it's a very, very profound story. And also the work that Marcus Garvey did outside of these boats. I think he planted a seed,
Yes.
He planted a seed. Maybe Elon Musk actually learned from Marcus Garvey because he's African and he's white African, and he was probably watching these movements those long time ago. But I feel that people who paid attention to Marcus Garvey are probably millionaires or billionaires now,
Absolutely.
especially black people, because what he did was to demonstrate what's possible,
Yes.
Yeah, to demonstrate what's possible. And I think you just hit this really spot on. If he had the right people around him who would have helped
Simon.
him.
That's it.
Because as a leader, sometimes you get too ambitious, and then you have people who just say yes, even if they know that you're going the wrong direction. And that is when things fall apart, especially when the system is also against you, because the government was so afraid of the potential of these ideas that Marcus Garvey was pushing. They infiltrated his movement, and so he was against so many things, against his own lack of education in the industry that he was investing in. And he had probably been backstabbed so many times that he became a dictator in his movement, because like many dictators, they get into office just as good people, but before you know it, they change, and a lot of the time it's because of what happened to them in the course of their leadership. Anyway, I just want to thank you, Latanja, for your response to the first question. And also, I want to come back and welcome our guests who are just joining us on YouTube. I thank you so much. Take a minute and leave us with your comments. Let us know where in the world you're joining us from. And also, share the link to this conversation. And if you feel inspired, remember to subscribe to the channel. And, to my brothers and sisters on Clubhouse, remember to take a minute and share this room with your friends and family, and ping in 3 to 5 people to join us for our conversation today. So, Latanja, one of the things that I always ask guests of the Daily African Proverbs is that I share my own story. I share this story a lot, where one of the things that drive me, one of the things that ground me is just remembering the days that I used to distribute milk and bread for my mother's business. And I was little, and sometimes it was cold in the morning, but I always enjoyed interacting with business people in our community, supplying them with milk and bread every day consistently. And that's why today I am able to do the African Father in America podcast so consistently and very early in the morning. The discipline from those days is what built the discipline that I have today, as a father, and as an entrepreneur. I always look back at those years and I ask my guests, do you have a similar story from your childhood that inspires who you are today?
I think one of the things, and thank you again for having me, Simon. I am appreciative of everything that you do with the space that you've created for the African fathers in America. It's awesome. One of the stories from my childhood that still inspires me today is that I recall being in ninth grade, and the teacher gave us an assignment to recite the Constitution of the United States. Now, this was on a Thursday that we had to prepare for the next day, that Friday. And ironically, today is Friday. So we actually had to prepare ourselves to recite the Constitution of the United States the very next day. So what I did when I went home is that I studied, I recited, I looked in the mirror, I recited the Constitution in memory because we had to do this as a memorized assignment. And so the very next day, when I went back to class that Friday, the teacher asked if everyone was prepared to recite the Constitution of the United States, which was the assignment for that following day, that Thursday, the day before. And so everyone in the classroom was saying, no way, there's no way, teacher, we're not ready. Let's just do it on Monday. And that way it would have given everyone a chance over the weekend to be prepared, the Friday, the Saturday, Sunday, and what have you. And so out of all of the opposition that was given to the teacher for that day, no one wanted to do it because no one was prepared. Here I am with my little way, raised my hand and said, teacher, I am ready. And so I went on up and she called me up to the front of the class and said, okay, let's go ahead and hear it. And so I began with We the People and we're starting to recite the Constitution of the United States. And there in the background was a lot of giggles and a lot of people in the classroom. They were pretty attentive because they were watching to see if I would trip up and stumble and mess up or anything like that. And so that part that gives me my inspiration is that even if you have to stand alone, I will continue to stand up and hold true to my own integrity. Because when I approached the front of the class to recite the Constitution, afterwards, the teacher had to leave the room and she wanted me to sit in charge of the class. And so I take that as her giving me the understanding that she could rely on me because I was someone that was prepared and she respected me. And at that time, it seems like everyone in the classroom did also. No longer did they chuckle because now I am at the head of the class. And so, yes, that's some of the things that inspires me, regardless of whatever your situation. Be prepared to stand alone. And we know in this realm of entrepreneurship, sometimes you will be in those stages where it seems as if there's no one else that understands what you're going through. So that was one of the parts of my childhood stories that I tell quite a bit to my daughter. And I think that was important because, again, no one was prepared. But when I get a hold of an assignment, I'm going to take it to be that this is what I am scheduled to do. And so I'm going to stay true to that and be prepared.
Wow. That's really inspirational to me too. It reminds me of a mentor of mine. His name is Boniface Mwangi, and one of the ways that he got into the limelight was that the president of Kenya at the time was called Mwai Kibaki. This was the third Kenyan president, and the president was known for saying so many things, like many politicians, and not doing them, and the country was in a very bad place economically. There were no jobs. So Boniface is an activist, but that was the beginning of his activism. he mobilized a group of friends, and they had planned to go and heckle the president during a national holiday. Imagine, a big holiday here in the U.S. where Joe Biden is at a big venue with hundreds of thousands of people, and there's a clique of people right in front of him who plan to heckle him, and then the
Wow.
whole group of hecklers, when the time came when the president was speaking and telling people all these lies, they had planned to all get up at the same time and say, no, you're lying to the people, you've done this, stop it, When
Right.
that time came, nobody stood up. He was the only one who stood up, and he had to carry the plan,
Yeah.
Yeah, so he was carried away by the special security for the president, and he was beaten up, and he was disappeared for a while. People didn't
Oh
know
my
where he had
goodness.
gone. But this all happened on international TV. All the journalists were watching, and all the TVs were live, So everybody wanted to know, who is that guy that heckled the president? And people didn't know that it was like it was a well-planned protest. But everybody freaked out when they realized that now we are here in front of the president. Are we really going to heckle,
Right.
So everybody in the country knows him now, because he was the only person who stood up in front of the president and said, you're a liar, and this and this and this. And
Wow. Yeah.
anyway, so your story and his story are courageous. They demonstrate a
think
lot
so.
of courage. Yeah. So one of the things that you're known for is because of the affirmations and the inspirational quotes that you share through your brand, Sweet Teas Inspirations. And you're also, a designer, a model, a dancer, and I feel that you're living, your dream. And I wanted you to speak to, all this amazing work that you do, and, share with us what is exciting for you at the moment. And, just share with us, what is it that, if you are sitting with a group of girls in Africa, let's say, have you been to Africa before?
No, I haven't as of yet.
Ah.
I'm planning though.
Yeah. So say you are sitting with a group of girls in Africa, and they ask you, of everything that you do, what is it that excites you the most?
One of the things that excites me the most is to offer my aim, and my aim is to provide affirmations, inspiration, and motivation. And it is within that realm that we are able to become our best selves. And so that is part of what my platform is. And so is to offer clarity for those in disparity, and also to give you a different way of looking at yourself if you're of a particular age, because I believe that you can still live out your dreams, or at least attempt to follow them, because I am considered in a particular realm where people find themselves retired, and they are not invested in who they are because they have been a spouse, a mother, married, and so your identity is linked to those particular titles. So in my platform, 50 plus is what I would say I am. I am doing what I love to do. And so I'm sharing that because I want someone else to become inspired by what I do. And regardless of the age, don't let that be any limit to how you can move about. And so, yes, I do have my dancing videos, my modeling. I am a part of the TLA, the Lynn Gale Agency, which is for models over 40. And so I'm still strutting myself down the runway, if you will. And because I still believe that that is some of the passions that I have, fashion and modeling. And so, yes, you will see that on my social media platform. In addition to, I will be doing some other things with some books that I've written. I have the Lady Academy, a guided interactive journal on becoming a lady. And I will be introducing a course that I'm going to start, which is the Lady Academy course. So that's up and coming. Look for that. And so, yes, I have my platform that will show if you have been diagnosed with something, because I was diagnosed back in 1999 with lupus. And I say oftentimes that I have the lupus, but it doesn't have me. So I'm not going to be bound by any kind of medical um, diagnosis, if you will. And I'm going to keep moving forward. That's what I push, Simon. I push being energetic within yourself, doing your daily self care, and finding that thing that you've always wanted to be, but you just haven't had the courage, as we pointed out, to invest time into yourself. And I think that that's where a lot of women, especially if even if you are a one parent household held by a father, you put so much time and attention into your children, which of course you will do that as a parent. But then one of the things that we end up doing is we forget to nourish that childhood talent or that curiosity that we may have within ourselves. And that was one of the things that happened during the time when the children were enslaved in Africa, is that they were very curious individuals. And that curiosity was cut off because, again, you were not able to read, you were not able to express yourself in a lot of ways. And so I believe that we can keep those natural abilities that we have within us and let them live, let them resurface so that you can become your best self. And so that's one of the ways in which I show my brand on my social media platforms, by being your very best self, because I'm growing as we all are every single day, but I have no inhibitions to perform as I do despite the age, because some people would say at my particular age and beyond, that's the time where you should be in your rocking chair and baking cookies, for your grandchildren, if you have any.
What you're saying is, what you're saying for me, everything you do and everything you've said is very, very inspiring. And I would love to be like you, when I attain the age that you have attained, which is something that is a privilege, really, because there are so many obstacles that come in our way in terms of health, in terms of even driving from home to your work or from work to home. You're just lucky to get home. There's so many accidents that happen to people along the way. If you commute for even 15 years or 20 years during your working years and never get involved with an accident, or, you being alive is a privilege, and many people take it
Yes.
for granted, and living a long life is a privilege. So anything that ensures that you are happy at whatever age you're in is important. Sometime, like last night, I saw my two youngest daughters. They turned on their favorite music, and they have new favorite songs every day, by the way. So yesterday they turned on a very, very fast-paced music, and they were just dancing to it. So I was like, oh, maybe it's time to dance. Let me join them. And we ended up dancing for a couple of minutes, and they were jumping off of the couch, and I was making sure they land well on my arms and they don't land on the floor. And it was just so fun and a lot of laughter. And I feel that such moments are precious, and a lot of the time we allow age to create obstacles to happiness, and many times parents want to sit on the side while their children are enjoying, and when
Right.
parents are enjoying, they want their children to sit on the side. Sometime when parents are exercising, they tell children, go to your room and watch TV instead of exercising together, doing something
Yeah.
together. So I feel that the more we have people like you doing whatever you do for your own happiness, but also to inspire other people, I honestly feel that that's the way to make this world a better place, you know. So I truly, truly appreciate you. And I want to bring other voices to contribute to our conversation today. So I just want you to, if you have a pen and paper, just note some of the things you're going to hear. But also, you could just listen, because at the end of these contributions, I want you to, maybe just share a summary of what did you hear. And then I also want you to think about how we can support you. You know, if there is someone who is watching that feels inspired by you and your story, if they want to support you, at the end, I want you to share what they can do. And so with that, I want to invite our first contributor on the stage here. Lavender, how are you? Where in the world are you? And what is your own perspective on today's proverb? And what comments do you have about this conversation with Latanja Mailhouse, the CEO of Sweet Teas Inspirations? I cannot hear you, Lavender. If you're speaking, you need to maybe adjust your microphone or, switch to your headphones, but I cannot hear you completely. Okay.
Hi, Simon.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you. Thank you.
Oh, thank
You,
Dr.
you'll have to get even closer to your mic, because I can't hear you enough. Yeah,
how about now?
That's perfect. It helps with the recording.
Oh, awesome. Thank you so much, Simon. And thank you, Dr. Latanja, for giving us your time and sharing your wisdom with us. Truly inspired. This is Lavender, and I'm happy to be here today. My
Thank you.
perspective about today's proverb, don't buy a boat that is underwater. When I read this proverb, what comes to mind is the saying that reminds us not to water dead plants, and that contributing to dead situations, we need to put our energy into something that is bearing fruit and is serving us as well as we are putting our energies into it. Thank you, Simon. This is Lavender, and I'm done speaking.
Wonderful, Lavender. Thank you again. I appreciate your contribution. We will go straight away to my brother Rushi. Brother Rushi, also share with us your perspective, where you are in the world, and any comments to our wonderful guest today.
Thank you, Simon. It's a great proverb today. I've enjoyed the story by the guest, especially speaking about Marcus Garvey. That was a very interesting talk. Today's proverb, it makes me think of don't buy a boat that is underwater. It doesn't make me think of the actual boat in water per se, but it makes me think of situations, people. Sometimes you might have the opportunity to invest in someone, but you have to look at the signs that may say that it may not be a good idea to invest your time, your energy, or your resources with people or businesses. You have to pay attention to the signs that have been shown to you. I remember walking and seeing a boat that is underwater, and you're thinking to yourself, what happened to this boat? Why, how did the water get in? Where is this hole? And we have people who have holes in them. We have businesses that have holes and things are sinking. You have to pay attention and understand why that is, and also understand what do you have to do to maybe get the boat above water, or what do you have to do to, you know, prevent your own boat from sinking, whether that's yourself or your business or your family. So it makes me think of all those different types of entities that could be used in reference of a boat. So this is a great proverb, and I'm definitely going to be thinking about this proverb today as I embark upon my daily adventures, which is something I normally do every morning when we start with these proverbs. I always try to utilize the proverb in my daily actions, and that prevents my boat from going underwater. Because without these proverbs, sometimes it's hard to stay stable dealing with different types of people, or dealing with business, or dealing with business situations. So these are great lessons to use in your daily life. And this is definitely one I'm going to be pondering on today as I talk to different people about personal relationships, as I talk to different people about business relationships. Just paying attention to the boat and seeing if it's sinking, if it's underwater, and if it's something that I need to be dealing with. So I'm calling from Charleston, South Carolina, and I appreciate the time, I appreciate the guests, and I appreciate this great proverb today. Thank you, Simon.
Thank you, my brother Rushi. I appreciate you too. And, I love how you apply these proverbs in your life daily. I do the same. And it's become very normal or easy for me to reference them almost whenever I encounter situations or obstacles in conversations. Even with my daughters, I always have an African proverb that can help me, educate them, or that can help me actually negotiate for opportunities. I literally have African proverbs on every page of the pitch deck that I normally send my clients. I run a media company called One Vibe Media, and I have a lot of clients, including local government authorities, including the Port of Seattle. And if you look at the pitch deck I sent to all of them, there is an African proverb in every page that is in alignment with whatever content is in that page that I'm sending out. So there's so much value in these proverbs, and I just love how you're making use of them, Brother Rushi. Now I want to just recognize Io. Io is an amazing contributor to a lot of platforms that I've been on here on Clubhouse, and is a very knowledgeable brother. Thank you for taking your time to join us. And we are here for the daily African proverbs. We share African proverbs every single day, Monday to Friday, and we learn from them. And sometime I have special guests like today, where we are hosting the CEO of Sweet Teas Inspiration, Latanja Millhouse. So we are at the stage where we are getting, other voices who joined us today, and they're contributing. And we are at Brother Earth. How are you doing, my brother? And where are you? And what does today's proverb mean to you?
Peace and love, Simon, to you and the family. This Brother Earth. I'm coming from the North Carolina territory. And as far as, the speaker, she gave a lot of good information on Marcus Garvey. And, her story is inspirational, how, it's up to her to determine her own value, her own worth and her own place, and not to, just subscribe to what everybody else subscribes to necessarily, or the so-called status quo, that she can make her own status. And I really appreciated her for, being able to stand up and do that. And as far as the proverb, when I look at the proverb, don't buy a boat that is underwater, two things that make me think of. I had an uncle. He had bought a boat one time, and I told him I was thinking about getting a boat. He told me he had two best days with his boat. He said the two best days he had with his boat was the day he bought it and the day he sold it. He said he had so many different headaches with the boat, cleaning the boat. He had to get something done to his trailer. He just said it ended up being a bad experience, with a boat that floated already. So he said, the two best days was the day he bought it and the day he sold it. And also what it makes me think about is um, I got, this cousin, me and two other cousins sitting down talking. And one of my cousins came up with this genius idea that he finna start working on cars and, flipping cars he find on the side of the road for little to no cash. He's like, I find a car on the side of the road, put a starter, alternator on it, then sell it, make $1,000 or something like that. And then the other cousin said to him, he said, why you gonna buy a car with problems in it? He said, what if you buy the car and then 3 months later the transmission go out? What if the motor blow? You know what I mean? He said, you just bought a whole bunch of problems. Why would you buy a whole bunch of problems? He said, just go get you something that's turnkey ready to go. And that made a lot of sense. So when I look at the proverb, it's saying, don't take on something that's already a whole bunch of problems. If you can put yourself in an ideal situation, not where it's an uphill battle, so to speak. And I park my plane right there. It's Brother Earth. Peace and love, man.
Peace and love to you, Brother Earth. Yeah, I love that. I love the stories that you always share, but today's story was really, really interesting. Flipping cars, and your cousin that was so determined to take advantage of these cars that needed just maybe a starter or a carburetor, and the other cousin was like, no, you don't need to do that. I think one of the cousin that loved flipping cars could earn a great living in Africa, because there we repair cars until you have to push them. You have to push them, and when they can't move anymore, you now put them in your front yard and people can hang clothes on them. There's always a use for a car that cannot function properly. And if it's a Toyota car, and the Toyota engine is not attainable, you put a Subaru engine in it, And anyway, I just love the innovation. And when I looked at this proverb, I also resisted it a bit, because I was like, well, you seal the boat. If the boat is in the water, you get it out and seal it. But at the same time, the problems that you're buying, the problems that you're inheriting by making such a decision is just crazy. It's just crazy. And also reminds me of politicians, especially presidents, who always claim that, I inherited a country that had been run down by my predecessor, and you knew that that's what you wanted. You knew that that's what you are going after. So then why did you go after it, knowing that you're going to be complaining all the time that, the previous regime took everything and ran away with it, then why did you want to be the leader if you're not ready to transform the country that you want to run, So it leaves me, your contribution just leaves me with a lot to think about. But I want to welcome Stella, who is another amazing contributor and a part of our team at One Vibe. Stella, how are you doing? Where are you today? And what are your own perspective on this proverb, as well as any comments to our special guest?
Hi, Simon. Hello, everyone. I'm glad to be here today. And today's proverb, don't buy a boat that is underwater, to me, it is also speaking about choosing your battles wisely. We've had so many proverbs in the past that talk about choosing battles, and I think this is one of them too. Because if you went for a boat that is underwater, then you should be prepared for putting in a lot of effort and time in repairs. And if you are not ready for that kind of battle, then you end up getting disappointed. So to me, it speaks a lot about choosing your battles. Thank you.
Yeah, I love that. I agree. And I think that's the lesson that I take. Choose your battle. And once you choose it, stick with it. Thank you, Stella, and have a beautiful weekend over there in Kenya. Now I'm bringing back Latanja. Latanja, when you heard all our contributors today, what is it that stood out for you? And then after that, share with us how we can all support the amazing work you do with Sweet Tea's Inspirations.
Yes, actually, very great commentary. I know from Lavender when she talks about not to water dead plants, that kind of brings up a lot of things. If it's no longer alive, why continue to add to something that is dead in terms of the life that is no longer there? And so put your energy into something that is bearing fruit. I like that. And Roshi, when she talks about look at the signs and pay attention, it kind of brings you the idea of staying focused. And so you want to be able to do that. In addition to the young man that spoke about the day he bought it was the day that he sold it. And it just means that there is no time to waste when it comes to how something will operate in the end. You want it to stay afloat. And Stella, when she talks about choose your battles wisely, that's a very good conversation to have, commentary to be able to know what you're getting into firsthand. And that way you won't have to make any mistakes. So, overall, I think that the comments were about staying focused and knowing what it is that you're getting yourself involved in beforehand. And so I think that I'd like to share with you that on the Mondays, I do my aims, my affirmation, inspiration, and motivation. On Tuesdays, I offer some poetry or either a tip I call a sip of tea. Wednesdays, I have my What You Not Gonna Do Wednesday, where I offer some commentary. Thursdays, we do our Family Table Talk Thursday podcast. You can follow us on Facebook, Latanja Millhouse, to hear our podcast every Thursday, 10 p.m. Eastern. And then you can also follow me on TikTok at Sweet Tea Inspirations, that's plural, so that you can link in with my link tree. That's the link tree / Sweet Tea Inspiration, and download some of the things that I have to offer with my books, my aims, and anything that's up and coming. And so I do appreciate the time that you've given me today, Simon.
You're most welcome. Yeah, it took a while for us to make this happen, and we finally did. So I really appreciate you for the patience. And also, I really thank you, Lavender and Stella, for making sure we host our amazing community members as our friends. And so if you're watching or listening and you'd like to be a guest here in the African Father in America podcast, make sure you connect with Lavender or Stella. And if you're watching on YouTube, remember to subscribe to the channel. And this weekend, I am going to be releasing 1 or 2 other videos from my most recent trip to Kenya. So pay attention, and you'll be amongst the first people to get a glimpse of how my last experience in Kenya was. That's last year around October. And remember that my team and I also organize trips to the motherland, especially Kenya, annually, and next year's trips are being planned now. So if you want to be a part of it, you can also connect with Lavender, who is live with me on Clubhouse now, or you can just DM me on Instagram at Okelo Javan. With those few comments, I thank you again for taking your time to watch the show on YouTube, and also to listen to it across all podcasting platforms. And Latanja, is there anything I didn't ask you that you want to say as we close?
I would like to share a quote from Marcus Garvey, who says, "If you have no confidence in self, you are twice defeated in this race of life." So let's stay confident within ourselves, and that we can reach an unlimited version of the best of ourselves. I am a proud mother, and I enjoy my growth that my daughter is having in her life experience. And we will conquer this thing called life, because it is through dedication, devotion, and determination that we make things happen each and every day.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. Have a beautiful weekend and keep doing you. You know, what you do inspires many of us. Have a nice weekend. Thank you all. Peace and love.
Peace and love.
African father in America. Tujikaze, tujikaze, jikaze. Tujikaze, tujikaze, jikaze. Africa, tujikaze, tujikaze, jikaze. America. Tujikaze, tujikaze, jikaze.
You are listening to African Father in America podcast by Simon Javan Okello, live from Seattle, Washington, USA.